lobster and king prawn curry. Alright, it's going to be similar to the king prawn curry I did the other day, which will be linked above and in the description below. But you'll notice a few differences if you have watched that video, and if you haven't, I suggest you go and watch it, because it's a good one to know. We've got ourselves a nice little Canadian lobster here, and along with that, the other star of this show is some raw jumbo king prawns, which I bought frozen from a Morrison's supermarket, and they're nice big fat juicy ones, so I'll need to drain them and butterfly them. I'll show you that technique if you don't already know it. And I've got some birdeye chilies, which are quite hot. You can use as many or as few of these as you like. I've got about 8 here, one of which I'll probably pick for just a garnish, and the rest will be somewhere in the curry. Alright, I've got about 8 bird's eye chilies, which are quite hot chilies. I've got some ginger, I've got a couple of knobs of ginger, I've got a lime, I've got half a knob of garlic, which I'll probably use all of that. I like lots of garlic when I do seafood curries. I've got some garam masala, I've got some curry powder, I've got some coconut milk. That's a can of ordinary Thai coconut milk. I've got 2 tomatoes. These are preserved Bulgarian tomatoes, but you can use any tomatoes that you like. You can use canned tomatoes, a couple of tomatoes worth of canned tomatoes. I've got some panch poran, which is used to sweeten the oil to start with, as is the curry leaves. They're carapili leaves, just dried. I've got a lemon, because lemon sweetens things up, and I've got 4 nice big fat eschalion shallots. Shallots have got a nice mild flavour, and they tend not to take over the flavour of the delicate flavour of the seafood in this dish. So I think the next thing we need to do is prep up this gorgeous little lobster, and also prep up our jumbo king prawns. Alright, the lobster. Let's take that off that, and we can stretch the lobster out like this. And what I like to do is I like to go in here at that point and then cut one way all the way through, and then spin him round and cut the other way all the way through. And there's some stuff in here that you don't want. Let's get that out. Just this bit here, inside the head, not very pleasant. But the rest of it is good. So just clean it up a little bit. Right, what we want to do is save all the shells. So you can normally get this piece of meat out in one. You get into it, get under it with your thumb, and you can just pull it all out like that. So put that over there. And there's lots of good meat concentrated inside the legs here, which you would normally on a larger lobster you'd be able to pick out. But what we're going to do is we're just going to break that up and use that to make a stock with. So I'll put the knife through it a few times, and the same with the tail. Everything is going to get used here. So all this is used to make a beautiful stock with. Alright, so, and then the same goes for the other side. Keep the nice flesh you've taken out. So we take out the flesh. So this is a boiled lobster. If you get a fresh one, it's a little bit harder to clean the meat out of it, but it can be done. And again, we're left with that, so again I'm going to chop it up. and use that in my stock. Last thing to do is the claws. So got the fat part there, smack it with the back of the hammer, and there, and then it should all come apart fairly easily. Any bits of shell you keep, but all the nice fleshy bits you save with your meat. Lovely. And just work it like that until you got all the meat out. Keeping all the shell. So there you are, we have it. Not an awful lot of meat on that little lobster, but there's that lot there, which is nice, which will augment these king prawns rather nicely and add some lovely rich flavour to the curry. This shell is most useful now because that, boys and girls, is absolutely packed with fantastic flavour. So the worst place for that right now is in the bin, because that's going to do some great work making a marvellous stock. And incidentally, this is the way that lobster bisque is made, the fantastic lobster soup. So we need to get some heat under a pan, and I'll show you the rest. So get the pan nice and hot, into that a couple of tablespoons of oil. You want some nice vegetable oil in there. And get that nice and hot, and then in go all your shells. Everything. Now, you need to do this in a pretty well ventilated kitchen because it can get a bit smelly. But trust me, the results are well worth it. You get a fantastic super stock. So we just keep frying that and stirring it. Stir it over fairly high heat, and you just want to keep going with that. So you keep it going, keep it stirring, and then you'll notice the bottom of the pan is getting a little bit drier and drier, and that's as all the liquid starts to evaporate. And then you get that really characteristic sweet lobster smell coming up at you, and that is as the sugars in what's left of that lobster stock in there start to caramelise, and that's what you're after. That smell is what you're after, because it's right at that stage that you need to add some liquid. We'll just let that go for another minute. Keep it stirring, and just as it's starting to catch on the bottom, that's your time. I'm going in with 300 mils of water. Not a lot, but it's going to produce a nice rich stock for our curry. And then we bring that up to a boil and simmer that for about 10 minutes. And you'll notice the resulting liquid is just a little bit pink, and that's the beautiful colour pink you get in a lobster bisque soup, and that's very important. We're getting the maximum flavour out of that wonderful lobster. So turn that down now to a low simmer and just simmer that for about 10 minutes. Alright, let's get the good meat over and we'll chop that into little bits. Just little morsels. Don't need to chop it up too fine. And then we'll add that to the plate. So it's a decent amount of meat, you'll see. And there's also some roe in there, which also adds to the wonderful flavour. So we get all that in and set that to one side. And then we can get on with making our curry paste. Okay, so the way I butterfly my prawns is I take the prawn in my fingers like that, with the bulk at this end and the tail going down there, and then I run my knife down the centre, down there, and then I rotate the prawn around and take the cut almost through the prawn until it just butterflies out like that into somewhere near the tail. So you end up with it butterflied out like that, and that has two effects. One effect is that it makes it curl up and it looks very attractive when it's cooked, and the other one is that it cooks much quicker. So the quicker you can cook this and get this ready, the more succulent and juicy it's going to be when it's cooked. So it's just the way that that works. So it's the speed at which the flesh tightens up, and as you see there, look, you can do it quite quick. Also, if you find any digestive tract or vein in there, you can always get rid of it, but these have been excellently cleaned, and the digestive tract that normally runs along the back is cleaned out. Very nice, very clean, lovely prawns. I'll just get on and finish these, and then we'll make the curry paste. Alright, that's the king prawns all done and butterflied nicely. My ginger's chopped up, my garlic's been peeled. I've separated out 5 of the chilies. You can use, if you're not used to hot foods, start with only 2 of these and maybe 1 for garnish. I've started off with 5 and 3, but I'm a pepper mouth. Alright, so now we can make up the curry paste. Into your trusty food processor. You want, now I've chopped up these shallots. I've kept 1 shallot back, and the rest of them I've chopped up. They go in there. My tomatoes go in there. You can chop them up if you like. I think my machine will do a fine job of that. And in go your chilies, your ginger. I like lots of ginger in this. And the garlic, again, lots of garlic, lots of ginger. So all I've got left is this 1 shallot and 3 garnish chilies. And I'll put those to one side with my lemon and my lime. However, what I want to do is get off a squeeze of lime, so I'll just take an edge off that, put that into the bowl, and lemon, take an edge off that, about that much, and then just squeeze it into the bowl. I like both in this one. And then you're going to want some curry powder in there. So whichever curry powder you like. I'm putting in 2 heaped teaspoonfuls of that. And the next thing I want to do is take that away and give it a good old whiz. Alright, so there it is. Nicely ground up and a nice orangey colour. Beautiful curry paste. And that's ready to go. Right, now we can make a start. So remember those 2 shallots I kept by? I want to shred those quite finely now. Just as my cast iron pan is warming up. I've got a cast iron enamel pan and it holds a lot of heat. So I just want them cut fine like that. And then let's get you looking at the cast iron pan. Okay, that's nice and fiercely hot. About 4 tablespoons of oil, and into that goes about that much panch poran to sweeten the fat, sweeten the oil, and a pinch of these curry leaves, so the karapili leaves, again to sweeten the oil. And then into that goes those chopped up eschalion shallots. Right, let's give that a quick stir. Get that in and around. Just get it moving nicely. Lovely sweet smells in this kitchen now from the lobster stock and from these sweet little shallots frying in that oil. Oh, and there's a gorgeous scent as well from the panch, poran and the curry leaves. Wonderful smells. Right, let's get this curry paste in there. And I want to get all that out because that's all flavour. And just what I can do then is just put a little swill of water in this bowl and it'll just clean everything out, and then I'll be able to use that water as stock. So let's get that mixed in. There's a lovely smell here. So now I need to get this frying back down. So I need to keep that stirring and frying for a couple of minutes, from 3 to 5 minutes, until most of the moisture has left those shallots. Alright, that's been stirring and frying for a few minutes. Alright, that's been stirring and frying for a few minutes, and you'll see it's starting to catch a little bit on the bottom of the pan as I move that away. So we can let that go a little bit longer because we want it to catch a little bit more. And when that characteristic sweet smell comes back at me from that pan, I'll know that a lot of the sugars in that garlic, ginger and shallot have turned into caramel, or caramelizing. And then I'll show you the next stage. What we're doing is reducing that sauce, and that's a very important stage. Don't rush this, don't pass it by. So there you see it's catching a lot more now. So I'm starting to get that sweet caramel smell. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take just what was left in that bowl and a bit of water just to loosen it up, and I'll throw that in, and then we'll stir that in, and that takes us to the second day taste. So it'll be like a day 2 taste on day 1. Just a little trick you need to know there, boys and girls. So let that cook down again, stir it, fry it, let it cook down, and let it cook down till it sticks to the bottom again. So there you see, look, starting to catch, starting to go slightly burned on there. And it's at this stage you want to put in your prawns. You want to put them in at that stage while the mix is still very hot. And you'll see they start to cook immediately. And that's what we're after. We're after them reaching a cooked condition really quickly. And as soon as they really start to get that turn on them, and they're starting to cook through, now's the time to introduce the bisque, the lobster stock. So all I'm going to do is take that pan and pass it through my sieve. Get that in, and once again we start to let that reduce a little bit. We don't want all that liquid on this one because we want to go in with some delicious coconut milk. So let that reduce a little bit. It won't take long. And at this stage you want to be thinking about taking a taste. Oh, it's prickly hot as well. Yum. As I like to do with all things chilli, I like to add in a teaspoon of sugar. Teaspoon of sugar and stir that in. I'm also going in with a pinch of salt. Just adjust the salt. There's plenty of peppery heat in there from those chilies. In fact, it's starting to make my nose run a bit. So you'll see now that these king prawns have curled up really nicely. The stock's reducing a little bit. So now we can go in with the lobster. So in there, give it a whirl. And I don't want this one too dry because I'm going to serve this with rice. But we'll let that cook down for a minute. And I'm just want to quickly have another taste. Yeah, the sugar's done a really nice job of balancing the heat in that. That really is nice, but it does need another tang. So I'm going to give it another slice of lime, which will also help to cool things down. So in with that, just a good squeeze of lime. Adds a little tartiness and pimps it up a little bit. Yet another taste to see how that's done. Oh, that is really good. That has really done the trick. And now, in goes the coconut. Now, I'm pouring in a whole can of coconut milk there. I'm going to reduce the heat to a simmer for a few minutes. And then, boys and girls, that will be ready to serve. So into that I've got a pinch of coriander leaves. They're from frozen. Just frozen fresh coriander leaves. Slightly more. And stir that in. Lovely. And I need to give that another taste. That lime at the end, it really does pimp it up. It's amazing. Fantastic flavour. And all the other flavours are there present. It is a little bit spiky, a little bit hot, so if you don't want it quite that hot, as I do, make sure you use a lot less of those birdeye chilies, because they're very, very hot chilies, those are. Another thing about these birdeye chilies is if you come from the Caribbean, or the Carolinas, you're used to having these really hot peppers. But it's a different kind of heat, and it will take you by surprise. If you've got a tolerance for one kind of pepper, it doesn't necessarily mean you've got a tolerance for every kind of pepper. And I do warn you, these birdeye chilies will light you up. So I'm just going to drop a couple of bits on top of that and leave you with that nice image. And it'll soon be time to serve that up. I think I'll serve that up with some saffron rice. There'll be a link to my saffron rice recipe in the description below and in the cards above the video up here somewhere. Oh yeah, don't forget that little last dusting, about half a teaspoonful of garam masala, which you see floating there on the top. Delicious.
Hey friends, if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like. If you would like to follow my channel, please subscribe. And don't forget to click the bell icon and select all to receive notifications for all my future videos. It would be great to hear from you in the comments, and I'll try to get back to as many of you as possible. You may wish to check out these titles or even help me out with a donation using the links in the description below the video. Thanks for watching.